Young boy helps millionaire. With a flat tire, what happened? Next changed his life forever. It was a warm, sunny afternoon, and the countryside road stretched endlessly with barely any cars in sight. 12-year-old Marcus was walking home from school, humming a tune while kicking a small rock along the way. His backpack hung loosely on his shoulders as he daydreamed about his favorite basketball team playing that evening. As Marcus walked, he noticed something unusual up ahead. A sleek, silver luxury SUV was parked on the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking. Beside it stood an older man in a neatly pressed gray suit. Looking helplessly at the flat tire, Marcus could see the man fumbling with his phone, frustration evident on his face. Curiosity got the better of Marcus. He quickened his pace until he reached the car. "Hello, sir. Do you need any help?" Marcus asked, his voice full of concern. The man, who introduced himself as Mr. Grayson, sighed and shook his head. "I do, but I don't know if you can help, son. My tire is flat, and I've never changed one before. I was trying to call for assistance, but there's no signal out here. I'm in a hurry for an important meeting." Marcus smiled confidently. "I can help with that, sir. My uncle taught me how to change a tire last summer. Do you have a spare and a jack?" Mr. Grayson looked surprised but nodded, gesturing toward the trunk. "Are you sure you can handle it? This is a pretty big car." "Don't worry, sir. I've got this," Marcus assured him. With that, Marcus rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He found the tools in the trunk and began loosening the lug nuts. Mr. Grayson stood nearby, watching with a mix of amazement and gratitude. "You're doing a great job, son," he said encouragingly. Marcus beamed at the compliment, though he stayed focused on the task. "Thank you, sir. Almost done." Just then, a car sped past them, and Marcus glanced up for a moment. "Wow, people sure don't stop to help anymore, huh?" he said with a slight chuckle. Mr. Grayson sighed. "That's the world these days. But it's good to know there are still kind people like you out here." After a few more minutes of tightening bolts and securing the spare tire, Marcus stood up, brushing the dust off his jeans. "There you go, sir. Good as new. Just remember to get the flat one repaired as soon as possible." Mr. Grayson stared at the boy, astonished. "You did it? Just like that? Wow, Marcus, you're a lifesaver." He paused, then added with a smile, "How old are you again?" "Just 12, sir," Marcus replied, grinning as he packed up the tools and handed them back. "It's really no big deal. I'm happy to help." "No big deal?" Mr. Grayson exclaimed, shaking his head. "Son, you didn't just fix a tire, you saved my day. I've got a huge meeting about a deal that could change my business forever. If I had missed it, I don't know what I would have done." He looked at Marcus thoughtfully. "Tell me, where are you headed?" "Oh, I'm just walking home," Marcus replied, pointing down the road. "It's not too far from here." "Walking? By yourself? In this heat?" Mr. Grayson asked incredulously. "Get in. Let me give you a ride home." "It's the least I can do." Marcus hesitated. He wasn't used to strangers offering him anything, especially strangers driving luxury cars. "Are you sure, sir? I don't want to bother you." "Bother me?" Mr. Grayson interrupted. "Son, you just saved me from a world of trouble. Hop in, I insist." Reluctantly, Marcus climbed into the passenger seat of the SUV, his eyes widening as he took in the plush leather seats and the glowing dashboard. "Whoa, this car is really fancy," he said, unable to hide his excitement. Mr. Grayson chuckled as he started the engine. "Well, I've worked hard for this, Marcus, but let me tell you something, it's not just about working hard. Sometimes, it's about the people who cross your path and help you when you least expect it. People like you." They drove along the quiet road. Chatting casually, Mr. Grayson asked Marcus about school, his family, and his hobbies. Marcus talked about his love for basketball, how he helped his mom around the house, and his dream of one day becoming an engineer. "I want to build things that make life better for people, you know," Marcus explained, his face lighting up. "That's an incredible dream," Mr. Grayson said, impressed. "You've got ambition and heart. Those are two things that will take you far." As they pulled up to Marcus's modest home, Mr. Grayson noticed the worn exterior and the overgrown yard. He could tell that life wasn't easy for the boy and his family. "This is where you live?" he asked softly. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, it's not much, but it's home." Mr. Grayson put the car in park and turned to face him. "Listen, Marcus, I don't believe in coincidences. You helping me today, that was no accident. I want to do something for you." Marcus's eyes widened. "For me? But I didn't do it for a reward, sir. I just wanted to help." And that's exactly why you deserve it, Mr. Grayson said firmly. He pulled out a business card from his wallet and handed it to Marcus. This is my personal contact information. If you or your family ever need anything at all, you call me, okay? Wow, thank you, sir. But I'm not sure we'd ever. Promise me, Marcus, Mr. Grayson interrupted, his tone serious. Don't hesitate to reach out. You've got a bright future ahead of you, and I want to help make sure nothing gets in your way. Marcus nodded slowly, slipping the card into his pocket. I promise, sir. Thank you so much. He stepped out of the car, waving as Mr. Grayson drove off. Little did Marcus know, this small act of kindness would set a series of life-changing events into motion. That evening, Marcus sat at the dinner table with his mom and little sister, sharing the story of how he helped Mr. Grayson, and then he gave me this card, Marcus said, holding it up. He said to call him if we ever needed anything. His mom, a hard-working nurse who worked double shifts to make ends meet. Marcus, people don't just hand out promises like that. Be careful, okay? He might just be saying that to be polite. Marcus shrugged. Maybe, but he seemed genuine, Mom. And his car, it was something else. He's definitely rich. His little sister, Mia, giggled. Maybe he's a secret millionaire, and he's going to make you famous. They all laughed, but Marcus couldn't help wondering if there was more to Mr. Grayson's offer. For now, though, life went on as usual. The next few weeks were filled with school, chores, and basketball practice. Meanwhile, Mr. Grayson couldn't stop thinking about the boy who had changed his tire. There was something special about Marcus, his confidence, his determination, his kindness. It reminded Mr. Grayson of himself when he was younger, struggling to make his way in the world. One evening, as Mr. Grayson sat in his office, reviewing the successful business deal he'd nearly missed, an idea struck him. He called his assistant, Rebecca. Rebecca, I need you to find out everything you can about a boy named Marcus. I don't have much information, but I know where he lives. Can you handle it? Of course, sir, Rebecca replied without hesitation. What's this about? Mr. Grayson leaned back in his chair, a small smile on his face. Let's just say I owe him more than a thank you, and I think it's time I returned the favor. A few days later, Marcus was walking home from school again when a sleek black car pulled up beside him. The tinted window rolled down, and there was Rebecca, smiling warmly. Hi, Marcus. I work for Mr. Grayson. He'd like to see you and your family this evening. Do you think you can come? Marcus's heart raced. Sure. But why does he want to see us? Rebecca's smile widened. He has something very special he wants to share with you. That evening, Marcus and his family were picked up in the same black car and taken to an office building downtown. When they walked into the grand conference room, they were greeted by Mr. Grayson himself. Marcus, Mrs. Jones. Welcome, he said, standing to shake their hands. Marcus's mom, clearly nervous, said, Mr. Grayson, I hope we're not in trouble or anything. Not at all, Mr. Grayson replied with a chuckle. Quite the opposite. Please, sit down. They all sat, and Mr. Grayson began. Marcus, I've been thinking about you ever since you helped me that day. What you did was more than just fixing a tire. It was a reminder that there are still good people in this world, and I want to pay it forward. He handed Marcus's mom an envelope. She opened it, her hands trembling, and gasped. Inside was a check with a jaw-dropping amount written on it. This can't be real, she stammered. What is this for? It's for you and your family, Mr. Grayson said warmly. To pay off any debts, fix your home, and give Marcus the opportunities he deserves. But that's not all. Mr. Grayson leaned forward, his expression both serious and kind. I don't just want to give your family money and walk away. Marcus has potential, a spark that can't be taught. I want to invest in his future. Marcus's mom was still staring at the check, disbelief etched on her face. Invest in his future? What do you mean, sir? Mr. Grayson smiled and turned to Marcus. Marcus, you told me you wanted to become an engineer, right? To build things that make life better for people? Yes, sir, Marcus said excitedly. That's been my dream for as long as I can remember. Well, Mr. Grayson said, I'm offering to sponsor your education all the way through college. I'll cover tuition, books, anything you need to reach your dream. But there's one condition. Marcus's mom stiffened, and Marcus held his breath. What condition, sir? He asked nervously. The condition, Mr. Grayson said, smiling, is that you promise to help someone else one day, just like you helped me. When you've made it and you're successful, find someone who needs a break and pay it forward. Deal? Marcus's face lit up. Deal, he exclaimed without hesitation. I promise, Mr. Grayson, I'll help as many people as I can. His mom's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to thank you, Mr. Grayson. This is more than we ever dreamed of. You're changing our lives. It's the least I can do, Mr. Grayson said sincerely. But Marcus earned this. He reminded me that success isn't just about money or business, it's about kindness, heart, and doing the right thing. From that day on, Marcus's life began to change. Mr. Grayson stayed true to his word, enrolling Marcus in a top-notch after-school program to hone his skills in math and science. He even arranged for a mentor and engineer from one of his own companies to guide Marcus along the way. But Mr. Grayson didn't stop there. He also helped renovate the Jones family home, fixing the leaky roof and repainting the worn walls. For the first time in years, Marcus's mom could breathe easy, knowing their financial struggles were finally easing. At school, Marcus's teachers began to notice a new spark in him. Marcus, you've always been a bright student, but something's changed, his math teacher said one day. You're more focused, more determined. That's because I have a goal now, Marcus replied proudly, and I'm not going to stop until I reach it. Months turned into years, and Marcus continued to excel. With Mr. Grayson's support and his own hard work, he earned a scholarship to a prestigious university, where he majored in engineering. He never forgot the promise he'd made that day in the conference room to pay it forward. During his junior year, Marcus had an idea that would change lives. He designed an affordable water filtration system that could be easily installed in low-income communities. When he pitched the idea to a startup competition, the judges were blown away. This has the potential to help millions of people, one judge said. What inspired you to create this? Marcus smiled, thinking back to that sunny day on the roadside. It all started with a flat tire and a kind stranger who believed in me. After graduation, Marcus launched his company, determined to make a difference. His water filtration system was a huge success, and as his business grew, so did his ability to help others. He never forgot his roots, often visiting his old neighborhood to mentor young kids and encourage them to dream big. And one day, as he stood in front of a group of students at a community center, a young boy approached him shyly. Mr. Marcus, the boy said, holding a broken toy car. Do you think you could help me fix this? Marcus knelt down, smiling warmly. Of course I can. But tell me, what's your dream? What do you want to build when you grow up? The boy's eyes lit up, and in that moment, Marcus knew the cycle of kindness and inspiration had come full circle. The story of Marcus didn't end there. His commitment to paying kindness forward became a lifelong mission, one that would inspire countless others. His company, Pure Life Solutions, grew into a global enterprise, bringing clean water to remote villages, disaster-stricken areas, and underprivileged communities. Yet, Marcus remained grounded, never letting his success make him forget the struggles he and his family had faced. One day, years after Marcus had started his journey, he received an unexpected visitor at his headquarters. Mr. Grayson, now older but still as sharp and warm as ever, walked into Marcus's office. Marcus immediately stood, a wide smile spreading across his face. Mr. Grayson, Marcus exclaimed, rushing to shake his hand. I didn't expect to see you here. What brings you by? Mr. Grayson chuckled. I heard about your latest project, the one bringing solar-powered water filters to communities in Africa. I had to come see you in action. He paused, looking around the bustling office filled with young engineers and designers. You've built something incredible here, Marcus. I always knew you would. Marcus led Mr. Grayson to a seat and sat across from him. I wouldn't be here without you, sir. You believed in me when no one else did. You changed my life. Mr. Grayson leaned forward, his eyes sparkling with pride. And look what you've done with that opportunity, Marcus. You've changed the lives of thousands, maybe even millions. You didn't just pay it forward, you've built a legacy. They spent the afternoon reminiscing about that fateful day on the roadside. Marcus shared stories of the people his company had helped, the children now going to school because they no longer had to fetch water from miles away, the families saved from disease because of clean water. Mr. Grayson listened, nodding with a mix of pride and admiration. Before he left, Mr. Grayson said something Marcus would never forget. Marcus, you've done more than I ever dreamed. But remember this, there's always someone else out there who needs a chance. Someone who just needs a little push. Keep finding them. Keep inspiring them. Marcus nodded solemnly. I will, sir. That's a promise. A few months later, Marcus launched a foundation in Mr. Grayson's honor, the Grayson Initiative for Young Innovators. Its mission was to provide scholarships, mentorship, and resources to underprivileged kids with big dreams just like Marcus had once been. One of the first recipients of the scholarship was a young girl named Alina, who dreamed of becoming an architect to rebuild homes destroyed by natural disasters. Marcus personally mentored her, just as Mr. Grayson had mentored him, watching her grow, overcome challenges, and eventually succeed filled Marcus with a sense of fulfillment he couldn't put into words. Years later, during a speech at the launch of a new Pure Life project, Marcus stood before a massive audience. His voice was steady, but his heart was full of emotion as he spoke. This journey started with a flat tire and a kind stranger who believed in me. It taught me that a single moment of kindness can create ripples that change the world. Today, I stand here not because of what I've done, but because someone took a chance on me. And now, it's my mission to pass that chance on to others. The crowd erupted into applause, but Marcus's thoughts drifted back to that quiet countryside road, where it had all begun. He knew Mr. Grayson's words would forever echo in his heart. Keep finding them. Keep inspiring them. Marcus's legacy wasn't just about engineering or business, it was about humanity, hope, and the power of believing in others. And in every act of kindness he inspired, the cycle continued, ensuring that the world became a little brighter, one life at a time. Marcus's journey wasn't just a story about success. It was a testament to how a single act of kindness can change the course of lives. The day he helped Mr. Grayson fix that flat tire marked the beginning of a legacy built on generosity, determination, and a deep sense of responsibility to uplift others. Years later, as Marcus stood at the grand opening of a new innovation hub for underprivileged youth, he reflected on his path. The hub was equipped with state-of-the-art technology and resources, giving children from low-income communities the tools they needed to dream big and achieve even bigger. It was funded entirely by the Grayson Initiative, the foundation he had created in honor of the man who believed in him. Looking out at the crowd, Marcus spotted a young boy holding a blueprint for a flying car prototype. Beside him was a girl passionately describing her idea for a device that could turn seawater into drinking water. Marcus smiled, knowing these children were the future. As he stepped up to the podium, the applause quieted, and he began his speech. I stand here today because someone believed in me when I didn't even know how much I could achieve. Mr. Grayson showed me that kindness is the most powerful tool we have. It can spark hope, it can inspire change, and it can transform lives. He paused, looking around the room filled with young minds brimming with potential. This hub is for all of you, to remind you that no matter where you start, you can achieve greatness. And when you do, promise me one thing: help someone else along the way. Be their spark, their inspiration, their chance. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Marcus felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had kept his promise to Mr. Grayson, and now countless others would carry the torch forward. As he stepped down from the podium, a young girl approached him shyly. Mr. Marcus, she said, holding up a sketchbook filled with designs. Do you think I can really make something like this? Marcus knelt down, just as he had done years before with another young dreamer. He smiled warmly. I don't just think you can, I know you will. And when you do, remember this moment and help someone else, just like I'm helping you. The cycle of kindness and opportunity continued, rippling outward, touching lives, and changing the world one small act at a time. Marcus's story had come full circle, but the legacy he built would live on forever.